Okay, so
Okay.
Holly,
Yes.
tell us the name of your company and what you sell.
So the name of my company is LegiLiner, and came up with the name because it's a little rolling stamp that draws handwriting lines. Roll it out, and it helps with number and letter legibility.
Okay, and so how did you go from being a school OT to an entrepreneur with a product?
Yes. So as OTs, we work in the classrooms, and I was working with students that were in fourth grade and they were in science class and they didn't have any handwriting lines, and that was their struggle, and their IEP goal was to improve their handwriting legibility. And so I was drawing lines by hand, and I just knew there had to be a better way. And I came up with an idea of a rolling ink stamp that kind of similar to what they used in scrapbooking. And so I started taking it around to the classrooms, and the teachers were like, "You have to patent that."
So you made a prototype.
Yes, I made
How
a
did you
prototype.
do that?
So there's a rolling stamp. It's about, yeah, it's like a pizza cutter. It's like yay big,
Okay.
and it was $30 and plus shipping. And so I think I paid like $40 for one stamp. But
Was it like a crafter's
yes,
stamp?
like a crafting
Like,
stamp.
so if I was a scrapbooker, I would own it.
Yes,
Okay.
like something you roll out
Okay.
on the paper. And so I had them make my own pattern. And then when I went and started taking it around to the schools, the teachers were like, "Oh my gosh, you have to patent that." So I went through the patent process, and I was patent pending on my first versions of my stamps. And now I'm currently patent pending on a multicolor ink stamp.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great. So how much work is the patent process?
Oh,
Did you
it's
hire a lawyer?
so the first time I didn't, but this time I did. So it's really important to try to do it correctly. I'm
Correctly
also
the first time.
right, and my first attorneys that I consulted with gave me some misinformation where I applied for a design patent. And it wasn't the design, it was the utility. It was what the stamp does. So the stamp and the process of it drawing a handwriting line did not exist anywhere.
Okay.
And that's what I should have patented. But we had gone down the process of doing a design patent. The design patent did not pass, and so therefore the first patent did not go through. But currently patent pending with an attorney who wrote the whole thing for me this time. So I knew I wanted to get it patented, and the best way to do that is to hire someone and
The right way.
bite the bullet. Yeah.
Okay. So was it a big investment for you up front before you had products to sell?
So when I first started the business, I had the idea, and I told my husband what I was going to do. And I came home and I wrote everything out in the paper, and he was like, "Wait, before you go sending money to anybody, you need to show me that you can sell these." And so 3 days later, I came back and I said, "Well, I sold 100. I just went in a Facebook group and said, 'Hey, who would buy this?' And I had pre-sales of 100 stamps, and that was my
Nice.
seed money that helped me get started."
That is
Yeah.
quite brilliant.
Yeah, so that was how we started, and then quickly realized I needed a couple different line sizes, because it's not just the drawing of the line, but it's the progression to a smaller size and
Right.
helping that student be able to reduce their size of their handwriting. And
Yes.
so I started with 3 stamps, and then added on the handwriting without tears lines. I added in the a music staff. Someone asked for a music staff.
Did you have to contact Handwriting Without Tears and get permission about the Handwriting Without Tears line?
So no, it's just a wide rule line,
Right.
and
Okay.
it's
That's what I thought.
boxes, but
That's what I
it
thought.
goes very nicely with their curriculum.
Yes.
And same with foundation. So we have one that has a worm line, which is just an extra baseline.
Right.
But we're not using
Those terms.
to promote it, or trying to bank off their success.
Yeah.
It's just like if we're at
You're supplementing
any
whatever the
curriculum.
student is working on and making
Yes.
sure that they can
Yes.
generalize.
So like this is the Zaner Blozer line with the
Right.
3 lines.
Okay.
And then in Australia, they use a 4-line system, which is like 2 dashed lines in the middle, and they call them the go-through lines.
Oh,
And so for cursive, that one's...
I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So we have all sorts
And
of
then
different
this
curriculums.
one is like very similar to the Handwriting Without Tears gray block
Yes.
paper.
Yes.
So great for capital letters and numbers. And then I remember that one time you told me that people use it and make a 10 frame.
Yes, so that's the double one. So that one's right here. So when you draw out the 2 across the page, then that gives you the 10 frames. So something like that. Let me show you on a piece of paper. So something like that, you just stop when you get 10 frames.
Right.
So like that. Yeah. You can do it vertical for number alignment, or you can do it horizontal. So that's the 10 frame. But, you know, for the single, we have teachers that are teaching and doing fractions. And so what's nice about this is you could draw 25, even though that's not an even number, but you could do fractions of 5. Like what's 1/5 of 25? What's 2/5? And so we have a lot of teachers that are using these stamps for fractions and to help teach parts of a whole. Also on the this one.
Which I think is cool because it's a way to do hands-on work with the kids without needing buckets and buckets of buttons or chips
Right.
or any of that stuff.
So this is another one we can do, like where we're doing place value. So like you're doing your 1006 and 0.00, or so a lot of the teachers are using the stamps for place value. And it's interesting, the more conventions that I do, then the more I find out from teachers how they're using them, or they give me ideas, or they'll say, hey, well, can you do one with small squares for data collection? And so we have one that has the little small squares on it, but then we're also using it for lowercase letter boxes. And so I don't know of a curriculum that uses lowercase letter boxes, but it works great for sizing just the main line. So you've got, you know, your top line, midline, baseline. So this would be like the midline, baseline.
Small letters.
Yeah, small letters.
Okay.
So super fun.
So how long from when you had the idea to when did you retire like right away?
No.
So
I retired after COVID. Actually, I resigned, I should say, because I never really retired from OT. And so I'm still doing a lot of consulting, but this took on a whole new realm. We've got 20 different stamps. I have to do marketing, and as you know, social media, and I'm doing advertising and packaging, and I'm doing shipping and creating new stamps and purchasing and inventory and taxes and all that stuff that I don't like.
Yeah. Do you have a team?
I don't.
So you do it
it's
all
mostly
yourself?
it's mostly me, but I've hired out a contractor for some social media or for helping me with QuickBooks or things like that. So as an entrepreneur, you know, we have this grand idea and we want to get something together, and then it's like you have to see what you're good at and do that, and spend time working on that part of your business and let other people do the other things for you. So
that you're working on your business and not in your business.
Yes, for sure.
Very good. And okay, so I didn't get to the question though. When you came up with the idea, what year was that?
So it was 2018 was the idea.
Okay, so it was pretty fast that you went with it and started.
Yeah, so that happened in May. And then by the time I got the shipment, it was June, July. Sold them for a while online, and then decided, well, I had to be on Amazon because everybody's on Amazon.
I just was going to ask you,
so
what does that entail?
Oh, that's a big process.
A lot of work?
It is.
How long did it take?
Well, it doesn't take long to get a listing up, but it takes a while to get like brand recognition. And brand recognition protects you from people copying you. So there's all sorts of fees associated with it. There is fees for selling online. They'll charge them no shipping, free shipping, but then they charge us for that shipping.
Right.
I have to ship it to Amazon. So I had to figure out the difference between what's Amazon Prime fulfilled by merchant and what's Amazon Prime fulfilled by Amazon.
Okay.
So if you get an order and it's FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon, those are things that I ship to Amazon in bulk, and then they distribute them across all their warehouses and they sell it. So I get charged shipping to ship it in. I get charged to ship it to the person.
Wow.
And there's kind of some other fees with percentages of sales and things like that. And then advertising, of course, Amazon takes their cut of advertising. But if it's fulfilled by merchant, that means I'm actually filling that order. That means that I'm taking and picking and packing and labeling and shipping it out. It's not fun, but
Are you doing both?
I am.
Oh.
And the reason you do both is because fulfilled by merchant, fees are less. And so, but when I ship it to Amazon, you might get the same price. So if you're looking at some type of a company online and you're deciding whether FBA or FBM, most people go to FBA.
Right.
But like a school system might go to FBM because it's cheaper. And if you know and are aware of what FBM is, it's coming directly from the business. And
Right.
so that saves us on fees, and so we can oftentimes have a lower cost for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So had a kindergarten teacher post it. I put it on Amazon in October, and then she bought one, liked it, and posted it the last week of December. So she was on Christmas break, and it went viral by January 3rd and 4th. Which is funny because that's my birthday, and it just was like boom, boom,
It was
boom,
meant to
boom,
be.
boom. It was just these huge sales. I sold out. I oversold. I didn't know on Amazon. That's another learning experience. I didn't know on Amazon you have to turn off sell when I'm out of inventory.
Oh.
So it kept selling, and I didn't have inventory, and then COVID hit, and I couldn't get more inventory.
Oh,
So we
boy.
sold out of everything we had, and then after COVID and all those shipping and regulations and things, then we were able to get going again over the summer. So that was 2020, and then so I've been doing this for 4 years now.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of a setback, but it worked out.
Yeah, there's all sorts of setbacks when you're an entrepreneur. And for instance, the very first prototype I ordered, when I got 5 samples, 3 of them were broken. And I wanted a very quality product. I wanted something that wasn't going to fall apart. I wanted something that wasn't going to dry out. I wanted an ink that wouldn't smear. So I went through all that testing process and tried to figure that out. And with that prototype that came broken, I canceled that order and switched to a different manufacturer. But what's interesting is that same exact stamp showed up in Target a couple years later. And so it was in the dollar spot, which was so heartbreaking. Oh, terrible.
Oh my God.
But what was cool about it was people bought one and it broke, and then they're like, but I want something with makes rolling stamp for handwriting lines. And they searched it and they would find me on Google, and then they say, wow, there's
And
all
your
these
reviews talk about how it's sturdy, which it needs to be
Yes.
because it's in a school, meaning the kids dropped it, the teacher dropped it.
Yeah.
It's used child after child, class after class.
And they're all refillable ink.
Right.
So some of my original versions, the customer didn't know they were refillable ink, so they threw them out. And I'm like, oh, they're all refillable ink. So that's important to me, is that
sustainable.
right. And you're going to have ink refill pods, and it doesn't cost a lot for the ink. And I'm not in the making money on ink. I want to just give you the ink that
Helps the kid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge markup on ink. Computer ink, printer ink, all that. So I'm not trying to make money on the ink, and I'm really not trying to make a whole lot of money on this. I'm trying to support my business, but I have advertising costs and things like that.
Yeah.
So what I do like, though, is that I take 10% of my profits and I put them into what we call the Benson Family Fund, and then we use that to fund nonprofits and
great.
different sorts of community activities or groups. Got a special needs community of clients, and they sticker all my little ink packages. So this is one of my inks, and they stickered that, or they might put this sticker on. And so these ink packages come plain, and then I have special needs adults help me by packaging and stickering things for me. So that's been really fun to work with them and
Yeah.
help them with fine motor skills and giving them job skills and tasks like that.
That's
So
very, very cool.
try to partner with the community and give back.
So what do you think, what is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur? What's your favorite part of owning LegiLiner?
I think 2 things. So I'm very creative, and I love creating new patterns and seeing something come to fruition. I'm currently patent pending on a multicolor ink stamp that would have the 4 colors of like the skyline, the fence line, the grass line. So it would be blue and red and green, and then the brown for the bottom underground line. And so that is process of going through plastics manufacturing and engineering and drawings and 3D printed models and things like that. So that creative process just really inspires me and gets me motivated.
That totally sounded so overwhelming to me. I'm like, oh, that would be something I would have to hire out.
Yeah, it's definitely, but it's it's
exciting.
seeing my product. It is exciting.
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is teaching. Like I love to teach moms how to help the kids with handwriting, how to teach a 4th grader that's struggling with handwriting. Like they've moved on. They learn handwriting in kindergarten, 1st grade, and then they're moving on. In 3rd grade, they get cursive.
Yes.
And sometimes it's only like a 6-week segment.
Yeah.
And so, these kids, some kids really benefit from the left-right brain connection of cursive. And so I just love teaching parents. Like they're overwhelmed. They're like, I can't get help at school. My student is not qualifying for OT. I don't know why, because they have handwriting problems.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they have to go through the psychological testing and they have to qualify under speech to get OT services. So I love having groups of parents and teaching them ideas and
Strategies to clean up the
Yes.
handwriting right now.
Yes.
From the top down.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. I thought you were going to say traveling.
Oh, well, that's an added bonus, I guess. So we do different traveling, vendor events where we go. We've been to New York, we've been to Florida, Vegas. We're going to the Children and Youth Conference in Seattle in a couple weeks. And next week we're going to London. Super excited. First
That
international
is so
conference.
exciting.
Yeah.
So, and you're not just doing OT conferences, you're doing teaching conferences, homeschool conferences.
Yes.
What else?
Those are the main three, and then some
Okay.
special ed conferences.
Yeah.
So when we travel, like for instance, my husband said to me the other day, well, we're going to have to figure out pounds, British pounds. And I was like, oh, there's, as an entrepreneur, there's always some other hurdle. And there's always something new to learn. And rather than going, oh, I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to, let's figure it out. Like, okay, let me call the bank and let me ask them, and what am I supposed to do? And I have a Shopify account, so that's how I run all my business, through Shopify. So I'm going to call Shopify and accept British pounds, and because credit card transactions, and I'm going to have to change all my show signs to their pricing. Yeah, like things you don't think about.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, this will be a first time through, and
Okay.
we'll do our best.
So that means you need to go back to London so that you get use out of those signs.
That's right.
That works.
Yes. So
Cool.
it's just it's one step at a time,
Okay.
and I think being an entrepreneur has been part of my enjoyment out of life and figuring something out. I've always tell people I'm a creative problem solver. So as OTs, we're creative,
Yeah.
we're problem solvers. I came up with a creative solution to a problem, but now how to market it and how to get it out there and how to get people to know about it, and working with influencers and trying to find the right model and mode, and is it better to do a webinar, is it better to do a podcast or write a book? And so it's like trying to stay in my lane
Yeah.
and not getting so far out of the lane that it's uncomfortable, where I'm not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone who might be wanting to invent something?
So I would say definitely go with your gut. If you have an idea, talk to some other OTs, get some support and feedback on that, and just take the first step. Like, a lot of people stop before they ever get started. And if you just say, Google something about it, or
Yeah.
ChatGPT about it,
Yeah.
what
Are
do
the
I need to
steps-
do to get a product from conception, or what do I need, and this is what my product is and what I'm thinking of doing, and ask ChatGPT, like, what are the outcomes, what is the need for that, like what would be a good audience to reach. I think there's so much opportunity with artificial intelligence to help us as they said today in the seminar, thought partner. It's oftentimes there are what's the word? It's not always accurate. And so there's some glitches in artificial intelligence, but where it doesn't know exactly the truth, and it may come up with the wrong answer. But it certainly is something that if you can look at the answer and then clinical reasoning and use your thoughts. And, one of the things that's really good about my product is it's not just a stamp, it's a whole therapeutic approach to handwriting.
Yeah.
And so I think that as OTs, we have that ability to break down that process and look at the steps and how can we make this therapeutic. And if you have a product idea, then certainly throw it out there in front of people and ask ChatGPT and other AIs about what the outcome might be.
Yeah, and don't be scared. Yeah. Because think about all the thousands and thousands and thousands of teachers, moms, therefore hundreds of thousands of children that you've helped with your product.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't, then that problem would still be so widespread.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
whoever
or
that
someone
is-
else would have done it.
Well, maybe.
Well, it's funny because so many people are like, why wasn't this around so many years ago? Or why didn't I think of that? You
Yeah.
know, and that's always fun to hear. But, I'm thankful to my Lord and Savior that He gave me this idea and gives me the confidence to move forward with that. And I think that overall that He's guided my path. And there's certain times when things aren't working out. Like for instance, I applied to Shark Tank, never heard back, but didn't really need it.
Okay.
And I think that we think, well, if I could just go on Shark Tank, and that may not be what you want.
Yeah.
And so just
Everything happens for a reason.
right, just take it day by day and enjoy the process.
Small steps
Yes.
with big results.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.